So bring it back and start again.
Hello and thank you for joining me, your host, Sanj Saigal, for episode 2 of our documentary series, Chasing the Limelight. In episode 1, we followed actress Asley on her journey to a film set, listening to some of the challenges that she faced along the way. Actor Rusty Joyner joins her for her second half of the journey, and stopping off for food is first on the list of things to do. Both actors have synergy and there is a sense of humour in the run-up to filming.
So we're on the road. Say hi, Rusty.
Hi, Rusty.
I knew you were going to say that. Like, feel. There we go.
So, we're going to... Hi.
Okay, so we stopped at Logan's Roadhouse. We were trying to stop at Chick-fil-A, but a number 3 8-count with a Diet Coke and a large French fry wasn't really what you wanted, right, Rusty?
When in Texas,
Go barbecue.
barbecue, roadhouse, they kind of go together. So
It smelled so good.
it wafted over to Chick-fil-A. It drew us in.
We turned right back around.
We sure did. Yeah.
And so now we're sitting here going over our lines. Because we got time.
At the roadhouse.
At the Roadhouse. Before we get to set, we had to stop at one of the film festivals where Kailea is nominated. And so we got dressed in a boot barn.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, we did that.
Boot store.
Boot store.
Talking about acting, warming up. We were pretending we were shopping for boots, but we really were zeroing in on the dressing room.
Yes, we did.
Way to go.
Mm-hmm. And so now we're sitting and eating before we're going to this thing.
This is how the big timers do it.
We gotta eat. We gotta eat.
So these are...
Falafels.
Falafels, also known as... Kolaches.
And you like it, yeah?
It is so good. So we're test driving these kolaches, guys. Test driving.
So
Here we go. Whoa.
So good?
Whoa.
Yes. So this is what you do when you're headed to set. You like mine better or yours?
Yours has a jalapeno hanging out of it.
I know, it's
That's
amazing.
legit. Mm-hmm.
I love spicy things. Anyways, this is what we do. And then we'll get to set around 11 probably tonight. And start filming tomorrow. Let's go.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I had a bit of a last-minute catch-up with Asley, and it was a great opportunity to talk to her about some of the questions facing actors today. Welcome back on the show, Asley.
Thank you for having me. This is so fun.
Well, first question I have for you is about role selection. I know that you have been cast in a new movie, and I wanted to ask you about role selection to get a sort of an angle for new actors, perhaps, who are entering your industry. So do you believe that actors should take on roles that challenge their personal beliefs, or should they stick to characters that align with their own values? It's a good question.
It's a really good question. It also is kind of one of those questions that everyone kind of answers for themselves, because everyone is different and everyone has different personal beliefs. I personally think that we have so many things in common just as people. Right. That being able to step into somebody else's shoes for a while really allows you to have empathy for others, even if you don't necessarily agree with what, maybe you have other ways that you see the world, but it helps you see through someone else's eyes. And for me, in what I just filmed, I play someone who is in a Muslim family, and I see that opportunity as, oh my gosh, I get to learn. I get to learn about someone else's culture. And so I got a unique opportunity to meet and go to an Afghan refugee camp here in the area with a friend of mine. And I was welcomed into this refugee's home. We had Afghan tea and we sat on cushions, and I got to hear her story on how she escaped the Taliban. Right. But also got to ask her questions like, what colors am I not allowed to wear? How do I wear a hijab? How do I say certain lines, so that I'm being respectful of something I'm not necessarily of things I maybe don't know very much about. So I
Sure.
walked away from that experience with just so much more knowledge, and I felt like it was such a privilege to actually get to experience a role that wasn't necessarily what I believed, but was someone else's life.
Right, right. Interesting. Do you have to, I mean, for role selection, is it something that for new actors, what you just said was a lot to do with research and becoming better and growing and developing honing your acting skills kind of. But do new actors have that opportunity? Because when I look at the acting profession now, people are saying, oh, it's very difficult. There's not many roles out there at this time. And, you know, they're having to be a little bit sort of more open to what they choose. Is that true? Or is that just what I'm hearing online?
Oh gosh, well, it depends. I think everyone has a different trajectory. Everyone has a different timeline on when they get roles offered to them. I mean, I went so many years without getting anything,
Right.
and then watching other people succeed, which was awesome. And I think we should always be, you know, cheering each other on.
Yeah.
But I think that with different roles, when you're given the opportunity to read the script, see if it is something that you can align with. And I do think it's important to stay choosy.
Right.
If you can. I personally, like, I care so much about other people, and I want to tell other people's stories, even if they're not my own.
Right.
So when I read a script, I look at it with, okay, like in a storyteller, as an actor, I get to step into someone else's shoes, step into their life. It all depends on, honestly, everyone is individual on this. Like, some people want to stay a little more in a specific lane, and some people are more willing to step into other people's. And there's nothing wrong with either one. It's just a preference. Because
I know that, for example, watching you on screen, you're this, you know, I saw you in this, in the action film Kalia.
Kylia, yeah.
Kylia. I always pronounce that with an English accent.
I love it. I love it.
But, okay, so you were in that. You were this action character and this, you know, really aggressive. I think you had a fight scene there, and I'm thinking, oh, my God.
Right? Oh, you're talking about Under a Dead Sky.
That's right, Under a Dead Sky. And there's a clip on YouTube of that. Sorry, I got it mixed up, but there was an action scene on there, and I thought, oh my God. And then I cut to a little bit later when you are on stage and you're in a musical and Peppa Pig. And it was just such a contrast for you.
A little different.
And it showed versatility. I think it showed that you can do a lot of things. And I thought, well, maybe, you know, like what you said about picking and choosing is a good thing. And that's your advice, right, for role selection. You know, you should have an element of pick and choose.
Yes. And I mean, honestly, like, as an actor, you do walk into something going, okay, I'm going to play characters that maybe I am not. And one of that phrase, I am not, like, my acting coach, Diana Castle, she really has taught me so much about how you embrace the I am not, because so many of us are very similar, but we're not willing to see that. So we stay in the I am not.
Right.
And she wants us to embrace that. And that has actually really transformed my work, because I'm now not afraid, in a sense, to walk into something that maybe feels uncomfortable because it's unfamiliar.
Yeah. That's good.
And then I realized how familiar it actually is.
Yeah. I suppose you draw comparisons and find things in common and work it from that angle. Well, let's move on to Hollywood's influence, shall we? I mean, in your opinion, is Hollywood responsible for promoting social issues through film, or should entertainment remain neutral? I mean, this is quite a controversial topic, and I appreciate that. And maybe you don't have to dive too deep into it, but just on your own personal take, do you think there is a responsibility for promoting social issues?
I think that Hollywood has a unique platform that allows them to influence societal views. I absolutely believe that. And I think people that feel very strongly about certain views do put it into their work. That is how they express creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And so you will see that. On the flip side of things, I do think that sometimes when life is really heavy, to be able to just have an entertainment route where it is just an entertainment experience. So, or entertaining experience, like the Marvel movies,
right?
Or
exactly.
something like our Top Gun, even.
Yeah.
You've got it. Definitely,
Although
I'm sure there are things. There are things.
There is an educational thing to it too,
Oh,
isn't
100%.
it?
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah.
But it also is one of those things where you can sit and just enjoy story.
Yeah.
And not feel like something is being told to you.
Yeah, I suppose.
To believe. And so I think there is a time and place for both sides. But I definitely think Hollywood has a responsibility in a sense, because they are what people are viewing, they are what people are seeing. And so to use it with wisdom, use your platform to help others. I truly believe helping others is really important. And when you're given a platform to speak for those that maybe don't have a voice, I think that is really important.
Okay, let's move on to typecasting next, because it's a question I've been dying to ask you. We touched on a little bit there before with your own career. You haven't been typecast. You're so versatile, and you're able to move around into different genres. But if you are, for example, cast in action and you're really good at it, does that mean you're condemned? I mean,
no.
not you yourself. I'm talking about just, if there was an actor who was, what we, all muscly and typecast as an action hero, is that what they're going to end up doing for the rest of their lives?
I mean, okay. So for me, when you are typecast, because obviously you walk into a room and you are hopefully what they're looking for, but lots of times you're not.
Yeah.
And when I first started, I got the note that, we already have 5 of you. And I was like, you don't have 5 of me. I can prove it. And all I did was change my hair color, and I started booking. Nothing else changed. My talent didn't change, nothing except for my hair color.
Wow.
And I started booking. But I also picked up sword fighting, because I was like, I'm going to prove to you that I can not just be this like girl next door. I can also fight. I can also do this. And I had to. And I continue to try to hone in on some of the things I absolutely love to do that I would love to be seen as when I'm in an audition room. So when given those notes about typecasting, I look at that and I go, do I like my typecast? Do I really like this lane, and do I want to stay there, or do I want to make it bigger? Do I see myself in other things? And for me, I love action adventure period pieces. Those are my favorite.
You do realise what you've done. Tomorrow morning, there'll be 1,000 female actors rushing into hair salons going, I want to go blonde. I want to go brunette.
I mean, honestly, though, like I started as a blonde, and they said, we don't need you. We have too many of you.
Wow.
And I was so frustrated, because I was like, you don't, I promise. And I went red. I went a redhead, and all of a sudden people saw me in a crowd, and nothing changed except for my hair color.
Wow. Well, if there are any hair salons out there listening in, we welcome you to sponsor this podcast. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Right. Well, let's. What about art versus the artist? That's the next question I have for you. Do you think audiences should separate the art from the artist, especially when you're an actor embroiled in controversy? Do you become the character? Do you carry that around with you? I went to the theatre just a few days ago, and I didn't meet an actor. I watched an actor's performance, and he began by saying, look at the picture behind me. I'm guilty of imposter syndrome. I'm not that guy. That's the guy I've made. Is that how it feels to walk away? I mean, you've just finished filming. I know that. Do you walk away with that sort of mindset? You're still in character. You need time to come away from it.
I've learned through the years how to separate myself when I am not acting, because I think sometimes it can it can be a little tricky. It depends on who you are. It depends
Right.
on the artist. But for
Right.
me, to stay healthy, I needed to be able to differentiate between my reality and my fantasy world.
Then I have a question for you.
Sure.
When you're on the phone to your friends, do they say, "Stop it"? Just be, do they sense that you're in character? Or
I mean, the best compliment someone could give me is that they thought I was being truthful.
right.
Like they'd be like, "Oh wait, are you doing a line or is this real?" And
Right.
and that's like the best, when you're that believable. But
Yeah.
I think with it, yes, it is the art. Like I portray characters. Like let's say I portray a murderer. I'm not
Right.
that in real life.
Well, Chasing the Limelight is that sort of documentary where we can get to see the synergy between yourself and Rusty, both behind the scenes, and watching that synergy grow is a beautiful thing. It's very nice, and that's hopefully what we're going to bring through in this documentary. Let's go on to impact of social media very quickly, because obviously it works well with what you just said. Is it hard because you're posting images of the character you played? You're cementing the role you played. Does that make things harder? People's expectation on social media of you?
I think at that point, because social media, like if you dive too deep into social media, it can be pretty detrimental to your emotional health, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, as I move forward, something I've been really working on and have to continue to work on is not caring so much about what other people think.
Interesting.
So
Yeah, that's...
I definitely want to be respected for my craft, and I want to do a good job in whatever
Mm-hmm.
I do. And I will work really hard to do that, and I will continue to. But when it comes to people's opinions, I cannot control their opinion, but I can respect their opinion. I'm not going to be able to,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask if, you're saying respect opinions. Have you ever had negative press? Have you ever, on social media, people sort of confronted you with things you don't want to hear? Does it get to you?
I
Or do
have.
you become steel? You become immune to it?
So it hurts. It definitely stings,
Right.
even when you don't want it to. But I think from a very early age, I knew that I was in a gray area. There were going to be
Right.
people that didn't think that I was being a good enough, I was. Some people on one side think that I are a little prude because of some things I won't do, and then other people
Okay.
look at it and go, "Oh, you're doing too much." And I knew I was in the
Yeah.
middle. And
Yeah.
that I wasn't going to please everyone. But I also knew that I had spent a lot of time, and this is personal, but like a lot of time with God on my
Right.
lines.
Yeah.
But every single script I get, I look at and I go, okay, am I okay with this? And if I feel like I am, I'm going to do it. But it's not because
Right.
of people's opinions. It's because of what kind of impact I want to make. And maybe that's set and how I
Mm-hmm.
can love someone better than they've ever experienced before.
Yeah.
And that's behind the scenes. That has nothing to do with the role.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Well, I was going to ask you about mental health awareness, and that's kind of, it's very much a topic you love, and you speak about this all the time.
Yes.
So let's talk about mental health. I mean, it does tie in really well with what you just said. You obviously have a very high level of mental health, but is it always high, or does it come?
I wish.
mean, you come across as very positive all the time, very happy.
Yeah.
Is there a situation where maybe that doesn't happen, and maybe you have to sort of disconnect for a while and focus on you?
Oh yeah. So at least I haven't met anyone that can stay on that high level. I wish it was possible. I do like to see the silver lining. That's
Mm-hmm.
kind of just my personality. So I'll look at a struggle or a bad season of life and go, okay, what can I be thankful for?
Yeah.
Which I think really helps my mental state. But
Mm-hmm.
there are some times where I feel very hopeless, in my life, I have gotten to spots where I have felt like there is no future for me. I felt like a failure, and I felt alone. And one of the things, and I want to capitalize on that word alone, because since I have felt that, and moving forward out of that house, out of that darkness, I have gained this desire to help people feel less alone. Because I know how that feels. And so often we all feel it at different parts of our lives. And to be able to sit in the trenches with somebody and patiently help them see themselves again and feel less alone in what they're going through, I think that actually helps our mental state, regardless of what we're struggling with, because then we don't feel as crazy, or we don't feel like it's the end. And even if we do feel like it's the end, there's someone sitting there right next to us. And I think, no matter what profession we're in, to be able to feel like we belong somewhere, I think people are always looking for that.
Do you think coming out of COVID has made it more acceptable to have lower levels of mental health? Because post-COVID, everyone was in a shell during COVID. Do you think that that's sort of like it plays a part?
I think what it maybe did a little bit is it allowed there to be conversation. I think for so long, people just tried to deal with it themselves because they felt like the broken one in the group.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can't speak for other people, but I can speak for myself. And I felt like the weakest link for so long in so many of my groups because of what I was going through.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I was around people that were willing to hear me and listen. Yeah. But there are a lot of people that don't have that surrounding them. And I think what COVID did was it showed that there were so many people dealing with the same things that all of a sudden it became a conversation. And it could be a conversation of, oh, I'm struggling with this. Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Or I had that the same as you did, but different.
Yeah.
And trauma knows trauma.
I know you do a significant amount of work with a charity. Is that right? You, if I can call it a charity, it's
a foundation. Yeah,
it's a foundation. We're going to touch on that in a future episode. I'm sure the audience would love to know what exactly you do in your spare time, and I think it's a fascinating thing. So we'll do it. One of the Chasing the Limelight episodes we'll touch on that. Let's move on to creative control. How much of what you do is your own invention? Are you told to move left and told to move right? Or do you have some sort of creative control in what you do when you act?
I think it all depends on the crew and the director, and how much freedom you're given. This past one that we just did, the director is so collaborative and he's so creative, and he talked to Rusty and me and was like, hey, go ahead and go through the lines. He was like, I don't care if you're not verbatim, but I want it to flow. So he gave us some creative freedom to go through it and be like, hey, like this doesn't land the same. Can we try this? And so we got opportunity to do that. But there have definitely been other ones where I have had to be verbatim because, you have only so much time to get a scene done and you've got to be ready to rock. And then, other scenes, for the most part, every scene is blocked. So you do have some creative freedom for sure, because you want it to be real. You want it to flow. But when it comes to cameras and where you can't just run and the camera not know where you're going. So you work with cameras, you work with the director, and you all work together. It's a team effort to get the set and the scenes and all of the different angles.
Brilliant. Well, we are running out of time.
Bummer. I love this.
I could talk to you forever, but I'm hoping you'll come back on the next episode, maybe at the tail end, and we'll do a little bit of a talk there. Thank you, Asley, for joining this podcast. It's so good to catch up with you again.
It's so good to be here. Thank you so much.
And thank you to the audience listening in. Please remember to like and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to join me for the next episode of Chasing the Limelight. Until then, bye for now.
See you later.